Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield on the Rural Radio Network. Thanks for the feedback, by the way, we've gotten over the last couple of weeks about the show. We appreciate your comments, and we appreciate the fact that you like that we're looking out for you, the cattle producers. We dive into the markets, and as one gentleman told me, Joe, we don't put a pretty ribbon on a dirty box. We just talk right about what's going on in this trade, and the presents might not be all pretty, but definitely talking about what's going on in this cattle market. And that is what we're going to talk about today, this chop fest that's going on for this cattle market. We'll take a look at that. We're going to take a look at where some of the kill numbers are and really what's the feel as we wrap up these warm days that are hitting our feedlots. Well, you just heard me mention his name. Joe Kooima is joining us today with Kooima Kooima Varilek out of Sioux Center, Iowa, filling in for Brad, who is out of the office today. So let's talk about this chop fest that is going on for the trade.
That's a great word to have. Even the last several weeks, it's been one of those chop fests, like you mentioned. Last week we did see a little bit more of a trek lower, and then we had the on-feed report numbers that told the market to, hey, back off here a little bit. We don't need to spill any more here. We're got the limelight here that the numbers are still tight in front of us and continue to be that way. So Monday was a nice little leg higher, nice little venture higher than yesterday. Kind of had every market on a sour note. And then today back to a little bit higher. We had the outside markets kind of leaving us alone, but couldn't quite muster a close towards the higher level of the trade today. So news really is not a big runaway by any means. These kill cuts are for real, like we've mentioned before, and they're still hanging around. You don't really have any big majors participating, playing ball by any means. You got some initial 175 bids in the south, and you got some 185 bids here and there in the north, coming more from regionals up here anyway. So not a whole lot of highlights today necessarily. So chart-wise, cattle are laying on the bottom end of this last 3-week range, and these feeder cattle are kind of just out in the middle. So no trend other than just sideways type stuff.
So do you think the charts might clear themselves up a little bit as we kind of wrap up August and head towards September?
It's the doldrums right now, and we have the heat to go with it too, unfortunately. And that's a tendency for an August market to venture sideways. But I mean, this is a historic August market to have for cash wise. We're the top 5% of what we've ever been. But chart wise, yeah, you're kind of wondering what the funds are going to do if we get too far on the lower end. They're not afraid to maybe jump out of some length, but they have come out of a lot of length the last several weeks anyways. But you're not going to get them to really join the party back to the long side unless we can get some positive news, or at least get the charts to perform a couple bucks higher almost. So that's why it's so choppy. There's just no follow through to either direction right now.
You talked about the heat, and obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to anybody that's got livestock in the weather we've had. What concern, though, does the market play in this? Are they really, Chicago, paying attention to this heat? Because it's not just Nebraska that is on the hot side.
Yeah, it's everything, and you're not seeing it with the hog market either. Same thing there too. So it's definitely not a market factor today necessarily, but you're hearing some stories that you don't want to hear by any means. So it's going to have its effect. There was some enough cattle dead on arrival in some places where they had to kind of shut things down. So the stories are out there. The weight data is always 2 weeks behind, right? So it almost seems like maybe won't realize it until it's not too late necessarily. I'm not going to say that adage there, but I think the market will pay attention at some point, and maybe build on this whole choice select spread as well, where you drop these weights significantly, or these cattle just don't go back on feed like you want them to. So to me, I'm not going to spin it bullish. I think it is bullish down the line too, but yeah, kind of disappointing the market doesn't take a little bit more realization into that step like we can, right?
So you talked a little bit about this kill schedule when we first started out, and you kind of briefly mentioned it as well. Mixed bag on a Wednesday. How long is it going to take for this kill schedule to kind of get back to the norm that we've had?
A great question. I would think that it's a function of a very bullish environment of tight numbers to have these kill cuts, and they're probably going to stay for a duration.
Okay.
That could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and that's what way the numbers look to me to be tight anyway. But you're getting one outfit that's going to try to maybe look at a few extra kill this week, which would tell me that demand is exceptional, especially with that choice select spread. But yeah, the realization is that you're probably just going to hang around these lighter kill schedules from, for the next little while. Yeah, we might be talking about this in October yet, I would say.
So we're sitting really with only one full week left in the month of August. September hits. We've got some tailgating. We've got some football opportunities. Hopefully that'll mean some pickup, fingers crossed, in consumer consumption of beef.
I think so. Even after this wave of heat, I think a lot of people are going to want to get outside and enjoy it a little bit more. You got Labor Day right around the corner as well. And I do think that's why these boxes probably jumped up a little bit too, to get in front of some of that demand there. So past the doldrums of summer, looking forward to some of these holidays that have some good increased demand, and that's not too far away from the corner. We're just starting, some of that seasonal stuff here moving forward too. So
I guess one final question: what are you looking forward to market wise as we move into this next week? What are some key things that we need to watch besides the fact waiting on cash to develop?
I think a big thing here right now, we've kind of lived it back in 15, right? We Packers were not in the lead. We had producers, we had our heels dug down, and we're getting what we were wanting for cash prices. Numbers were tight, and then we had cash corn kind of break down quite a bit. We're in that scenario now, so we still want to take it week by week here, where we might not be happy that we have to settle this week a couple dollars lower than last week.
Mhm.
You got cheaper corn, maybe if we feed them a little bit longer, we can get a few more dollars for it. I mean, that's fine to do in small amounts, but back to the old summer dog days in the cattle market, where we're typically loaded with cattle this time of year. You just got to every week market those critters, move them on, go to the next group, and let's not create what we created in 2015 with big cattle, big carcass weights, because that was our own worst enemy that year. And you're seeing a little bit of the ingredients that could maybe happen. I mean, I'm not trying to speak bearish. I'm not trying to be that way at all. It's just a reminder that move them on. Let's go to the next group. And 186, 187, if we can grab that this week, it's top 3% of what we ever had. And they make money there. So let's just move on, be happy with it, and let's just keep current.
All right, good advice going into the weekend. Try to stay cool, and hopefully we get a break in these temperatures soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me on today.
So what's the best way, Joe, for folks to get a hold of you guys there at the office?
They can go to our website, KKV Trading, or just give us a call, 1-800-358-3047.
All right, Joe Kooima joining us this week. As we always remind you, commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss, not suitable to all investors. And that's this week's Cattle Call on the Rural Radio Network.